Good evening. You're now with me, Anigui, for TVS Nightline onto the headlining stories. The conflict in the Middle East continues to escalate, with threats and military actions intensifying across the region. These are the latest developments.
Iran's military warns it will completely shut down the strategic Strait of Hormuz if the United States targets its power plants, marking a sharp escalation around one of the world's most critical routes. It says the waterway will remain closed until any destroyed power facilities are rebuilt, while also outlining broader retaliatory measures targeting regional infrastructure. The warning underscores the growing risk to global oil and gas supplies as tensions between Tehran and Washington intensify.
در صورت عملی شدن تهدیدات آمریکا در خصوص نیروگاه‌های ایران بلافاصله اقدامات تنبیهی انجام خواهد شد. 1. تنگه هرمز به طور کامل بسته می شود و تا نیروگاه‌های تخریب شده ما بازسازی نشوند این تنگه باز نخواهد شد. 2. همه نیروگاه‌های برق، زیرساخت‌های انرژی و فناوری اطلاعات رژیم صهیونیستی به طور گسترده هدف قرار خواهند گرفت. 3. همه شرکت‌های مشابه در منطقه که سهامدار آمریکایی دارند به طور کامل تخریب خواهند شد. 4. نیروگاه‌های برق کشورهای منطقه که میزبان پایگاه آمریکا هستند هدف مشروع خواهند بود.
As these tensions escalate, China warns that further attacks could push the Middle East into an uncontrollable situation. Officials caution that the conflict could spiral beyond the immediate combatants, engulfing the broader region if aggressive actions continue. This warning comes amid the heated exchanges between Washington and Tehran over possible strikes on energy infrastructure, signaling that global powers are closely watching the unfolding crisis.
当前中东的战火仍在蔓延外溢，如果战事持续扩大，局势再度升级，整个地区将陷入不可收拾的局面。武力只会导致恶性循环。中方强烈呼吁当事方立即停止军事行动，回归对话谈判，不要让这场本就不该开始的战争
The standoff is already rippling through international markets. Stocks tumble while oil prices surge as investors react to the risk of prolonged disruption in the Strait of Hormuz. With the conflict entering its fourth week and showing no signs of abating, concerns grow over rising inflation, potential interest rate hikes, and disruptions to global supply chains. The United States gave Iran a 48-hour deadline to reopen the vital waterway or face the destruction of its energy infrastructure, while the strait, which carries about a fifth of global oil and gas, remains effectively closed. On the ground, the conflict intensifies further. Israel launched a fresh wave of strikes on Tehran, while Iran expands its retaliation across the region, targeting energy sites and strategic assets. Explosions were also reported in the Iranian capital as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates moved to intercept incoming missiles and drones. At least 40 energy assets across the region are now severely or very severely damaged as attacks continue to hit oil and gas infrastructure. Iran also ramps up strikes in recent weeks, targeting Israel, Gulf locations, and U.S.-linked sites, while throttling traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, further tightening global supply. With oil prices hovering above $100 a barrel, the United States reiterates its threat to strike Iranian power plants if the strait is not reopened within the deadline. Iran responds firmly, signaling that critical infrastructure across the region will be considered legitimate targets if such strikes are carried out. The scale of disruption grows, with millions of barrels of oil supply now effectively lost each day, surpassing levels seen during past energy crises. Meanwhile, the escalating conflict drives a global energy crisis, with the International Energy Agency warning that the world economy faces a major threat with no country immune if the situation declines further. The crisis is described as a combined oil and gas shock, comparable to some of the worst disruptions in decades, prompting calls for urgent international action. As shipments through the Strait of Hormuz remain heavily constrained, oil prices surge, and at least 40 critical energy assets across the region are severely damaged, heightening concerns for energy security worldwide.
No country will be immune to the effects of this crisis if it continues to go in this direction. So there is a need for global efforts around the world. There are at least 40 energy assets in the region are severely or very severely damaged, okay, and across 9 countries.
British police are investigating a suspected arson attack as an anti-Semitic hate crime after volunteer ambulances operated by a Jewish organization was set on fire. The London Fire Brigade said it was alerted at 1:40 a.m. to a North London area with a significant Jewish population.
While this has not been declared a terrorist incident at this stage, the investigation is now being led by counter-terrorism policing, with all the specialist expertise they bring, all lines of inquiry remain open. We are aware of an online claim from a group taking responsibility for this attack. Establishing the authenticity and accuracy of this claim will be a priority for the investigation team, but it is not something we can confirm at this point.
London Metropolitan Police Force said the burnt vehicles were 4 Hatzalah ambulances belonging to the Jewish Community Ambulance Service. However, police added that no injuries have been reported and all the fires have been put out. Nearby homes were evacuated as a precaution, while some roads in the area were closed. Police also said in a statement that the arson attack is being treated as an anti-Semitic hate crime.
ASEAN member states, namely the Philippines, Vietnam and Malaysia, are the 3 main countries in the bloc most exposed to supply risks due to the ongoing crisis in West Asia. According to research by Maybank Investment Bank Berhad, this highlights the region's heavy reliance on crude oil from the Persian Gulf.
A significant portion of crude oil and liquefied natural gas (LNG) shipments passing through the Strait of Hormuz is currently disrupted due to the prolonged conflict, with most supplies destined for Asia, led by China and India as the largest recipients. The research indicates that among ASEAN countries, the Philippines' crude oil import dependence reaches 95%, followed by Vietnam at 88%, Malaysia at 69%, Thailand at 59%, and Singapore at 52%. This risk is further compounded by China's measures to restrict exports of refined petroleum products such as diesel, petrol and jet fuel. Although most of China's output is consumed domestically, it still exports 5.8 million tons of refined products in 2025, with major markets including Singapore, Vietnam, Japan and South Korea. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, government subsidies surged from around 700 million ringgit to 3.2 billion ringgit in less than a week, following a sharp rise in global oil prices triggered by the West Asia crisis. Recently, the government also increases the price of unsubsidized fuel in line with the global price hike, while maintaining subsidies for the public through Budi 95 and Budi diesel schemes.
Russia's sentiment of continued support for Iran is seen as a significant development that could reshape the current geopolitical landscape in the Middle East. According to geostrategic expert, Associate Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan, the relationship between Moscow and Tehran is not new, as it has long been a strategic partnership, particularly in countering the influence of the United States and its allies, including Israel.
Ketika perang meletus, Rusia ada membantu, tapi bukan bantuan fizikal, peralatan militeri ataupun bersama-sama dengan Iran menentang Amerika Syarikat Israel. Tetapi Rusia memberi maklumat risikan, terutama sekali kedudukan kapal-kapal perang Amerika Syarikat, pengkalan tentera Amerika Syarikat, kem-kem sementara Amerika Syarikat di negara telur, dan maklumat ini penting bagi Iran untuk mensasarkan sasaran yang mereka kehendaki. Jadi dalam bantuan Rusia kepada Iran memang telah berlaku, tapi setakat maklumat risikan sahaja.
Meanwhile, he says the efforts of over 20 countries collaborating with the United States to ensure tanker security in the Strait of Hormuz remain largely unimplemented. According to Dr. Azmi, these commitments currently exist only as statements due to the absence of any ceasefire, a formal agreement between the US and Iran.
Belum ada peringkat aplikasinya di Selat Hormuz itu, kerana keadaan sekarang terlalu bahaya, bukan saja untuk 20 negara ini, tentera 20 negara ini, tapi juga bahaya untuk Amerika Syarikat bertindak bersendirian untuk membuka Selat Hormuz. Jadi setakat ini hanya bergantung kepada kedua-dua negara, iaitu Iran dengan Amerika Syarikat untuk menentukan kejahatan senjata. Kalau bukan kejahatan senjata keseluruhannya, tapi kejahatan senjata di kawasan Selat Hormuz, sudah cukup untuk memberi keyakinan kepada 20 negara ini bertindak mengawal Selat Hormuz.
Meanwhile, on the possibility of China taking a stance similar to Russia, Dr. Azmi believes Beijing remains cautious, prioritizing diplomatic measures such as de-escalation and negotiations. However, he does not rule out a shift in China's position if a prolonged crisis threatens its economic interests, especially oil supply. He adds that the current situation shows that the Middle East conflict not only involves regional disputes, but also has the potential to evolve into a prolonged, complex global power rivalry.
Hello there and welcome back. Bursa Malaysia is expected to face weaker performance in the coming trading sessions as rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East dampen regional market sentiment, with Chief Economist of Bank Muamalat Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid saying investors are becoming more cautious and risk aversion is reducing appetite for risk.
When trading resumes on Tuesday, the local market is likely to track the weaker performance seen across regional exchanges. Al-Zanizam adds that the situation in the Middle East remains a key factor, affecting market sentiment, especially with the latest developments involving the United States. As a result, he expects key indices like the FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI to remain under pressure in the near term.
Dan seperti yang sedia maklum, situasi di Timur Tengah merupakan isu utama yang memberi kesan kepada sentimen pasar yang lemah, dan seperti apa yang kita saksikan sekarang ini, Presiden Trump telah memberi kata dua terhadap Iran supaya tidak menutup Selat Hormuz dengan memberi tempoh sekitar 48 jam, yang mana ia akan berakhir sekitar pada esok hari, dan situasi itu akan terus dipantau oleh para pedagang. Justru jangkaan terhadap prestasi indeks utama seperti FEM KLCI adalah jangka akan terus lemah untuk tempoh terdekat ini.
With that said, there could still be some buying interest in certain sectors, especially oil and gas, on expectations of rising global crude oil prices. Bursa Malaysia ended lower last Thursday, dragged by late selling in heavyweights, particularly in the healthcare, utilities and financial services sectors, in line with the weaker regional markets.
Those are the updates on TVS Nightline. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.